The doors of your car will close automatically. Please keep your head and arms inside and remain seated at all times. And please, no smoking. Thank you.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Hey there, Mountaineers. Welcome to episode 43 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And today we have an awesome episode planned for you guys. And I said this before the stream, it's probably going to be a short one, but you never know when it comes to that. Whenever we say it's going to be a short one, it ends up taking way longer than we expected, so be prepared for a short episode, but also be prepared for a normal length episode, just in case we end up blabbering on for an hour and a half. But yeah, I hope you all are having an amazing day. Since a lot of you guys requested it, we're going to be reading a couple more spooky stories at the end of the stream. Alex is going to share another one of his. I'm going to read some of the ones that you guys submitted in the comments or either sent to me on Discord. But yeah, and at the very end of the stream, I'm going to be showing a short clip from the newest episode of Historyland that I am finished. I actually just finished it like an hour ago at the time of this recording. Yeah. World record. I edited the entire video in 2 days. I don't know how I ended up doing that. But I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you enjoy the short clip. I hope you enjoy everything else that we're going to be talking about. And let's get right into this week's news flash, Disney news flash, sort of Disney news flash. First piece of news, we're going to be getting a teeny tiny bit into detail about this first one. I'm just going to quote from an article that I have on my phone. The Department of Justice approved Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox. Like I said, I'm gonna elaborate on that in just a few seconds. And for the second piece of news, Walt Disney's Tiki Room recently celebrated its 55th anniversary, and I have still never been on the Tiki Room, but very sad. I will be going on it my next visit. Last year I passed it up for going on Star Tours again. I'm sure that's understandable because Star Tours is an amazing ride, but yeah, I feel bad because I've never been on the Tiki Room. I've never experienced it, not even YouTube videos. Yeah,
what?
So I made a decision last year when I skipped out on it that I'd not watch any YouTube videos on it. I want to be, I guess, like surprised. I want to experience it for the first time when I go in a couple weeks. So yeah, that's the reason why I haven't watched any YouTube videos on it. Even though I did make a Historyland episode on it. That's kind of weird, because I've never been on it. But anyways, for our third and final piece of news, we have breaking news, not really breaking news, but Earl of Sandwich and the Disney Vacation Club closed in downtown Disney just a few days ago. Very sad. Earl of Sandwich. I've never actually visited or eaten at the Earl of Sandwich, but I heard it's very well, or it's very good. And I always thought it was kind of weird that they're closing down the Earl of Sandwich, even though I believe they constructed it maybe not even 2 years ago, and it's already closing for the new hotel, but I'm sure since it's new, since it's so popular, they're going to somehow incorporate it into the new hotel with with all that junk. But anyways, moving into our first piece of news, like I said, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on the first topic we talked about. The Department of Justice this morning, I believe, approved Disney's buyout of 21st Century Fox. And sort of the really catch for this whole thing, the one thing I wanted to elaborate on, is that the Justice Department said that Disney had 90 days from the closing of the Fox deal to sell off the regional sports networks. Yeah, that's really the only piece of information I wanted to update you guys on. And I said last week when we talked about this again, I talked about how the previous week's episode, Wednesday episode, was immediately outdated because Disney, or they released a whole bunch of press stuff about how Disney upped the bid from Comcast, and same exact thing happened today, or last Wednesday. Today, we're recording on Wednesday, but last Wednesday. Yeah, so just wanted to update you guys on all that junk, but everyone's saying that Earl of Sandwich is very good, so we're hoping that they do somehow incorporate it into the hotel somehow. But one thing I did forget to mention right at the beginning, as you know, I am visiting the parks next month in 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, it's 3 weeks already, and that's not that long of a time. Alex and I did want to announce that we will be having a small little meetup for you guys if you want to come hang out with us. We're probably going to do it sometime in the morning. Not sure on the exact times, but I do know for sure that it will be on July 20th, which is a Friday. Or maybe it's the 19th. I'm pretty sure it's the 20th. No, yeah, it's the 20th. Trust me when I say that it's the 20th. Alex and I will be doing a live podcast. Well, we're not sure if it's going to be live or not just yet. I'm hoping it'll be live, but we will be doing a podcast from the Disneyland Hotel. We were still figuring out which lobby to do. We're thinking the Frontier Tower, just because it's so pretty on the inside. But yeah, July 20th is when you guys can officially come meet Alex and I, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be at least one other, or maybe even 2 other YouTubers that are going to be with us. I don't know if you guys have heard of Second Star. He said he'd be totally down to have a meetup with Alex and I and film some vlogs together. Definitely go check out his channel. His channel name is Second Star, sort of like Second Star to the right, but it's just Second Star. So yeah, be prepared for that. And I just wanted to say, I will be in Disneyland, the parks itself, the 17th through the 19th, and don't feel scared to sort of say hello to me if you happen to see me in the parks, or if you happen to see Alex in the parks. I've never really... This will be like the first time that I would be doing something like this. I've never had like a meetup before. It's kind of strange to think that people would want to meet me. I mean, all I do is just record voiceovers and edit videos together for you guys, but a lot of you seem to like them. So hopefully everything goes well. Just wanted to reiterate, Friday the 20th of July. Not sure on the dates yet, or on the times yet. We will be updating you later as it comes sooner down the line, and I will be putting an announcement for that in this week's Historyland video as well. Or last week's Historyland. This week's Historyland, because we're recording on a Wednesday, but when this episode drops, it'll be last week's episode of Historyland. Very confusing stuff to try and talk about, but yeah, the 20th, write it on your calendars. If you're planning any trips, definitely come and say hi to us. Come and say hi to Alex and I, and yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. But anyways, moving on to our first small little topic. I wanted to talk about this last week, but completely forgot. Disney remodeled the World of Disney store in downtown Disney, and I just wanted to play, or not really play, I'm not going to play the whole video, I'm going to scrub through it a bit, and I want to know what you guys think of the new layout, the new redesign, and Alex and I are going to discuss what we think about it, and what we think about the future of downtown Disney is going to be, and whether or not we like it or not. Sam says I'm going to get copyright strike. No, this is from one of my good friends, LMG Vids. Not sure. He'd be another cool guy to hang out with. I'll see if he'll... we'll see if he can come meet up with us as well for you guys to meet. That'd be awesome. But yeah, LMG Vids. Link to his video is in the description down below. And I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm just gonna sort of skip through it. Right off the bat when I saw this video, it did remind me a lot of Disney Springs, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, when I visited the parks, the Walt Disney World parks, I should say, a couple years ago, the first thing we did was go to downtown, or Disney Springs, and I do really love this sort of architecture they have going on there. I don't really know the name of the architecture. I'm really bad with that kind of stuff, but this does look like it's sort of drawing inspiration from that kind of stuff. As you can see from let me get to the part. You can see right here, this sort of logo. They changed the World of Disney logo, and I believe they changed the sign out front where like the big stitches and all that stuff. But yeah, let's skip through this real quick just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. Really, a lot of bricks, it's more like, I guess you could say it's more modern. The popcorn lights, sort of. Yeah, all the new signage. Wow, it really is almost unrecognizable. I would not think that this is the same store as the previous one, because the previous one had that classic, 90s Disney aesthetic feel with the oversized props, oversized Disney characters too. But yeah, this is just to give you guys a feel. Big thanks to LMG Vids for taking this video, letting us use it on the stream, and yeah, that's it for that. Let me find a good place to pause it at. I guess that's as good as any, as looking at this guy's face. But right off the bat, I do like the way it looks. I do think it looks very nice, in my opinion. I just don't think it works well in downtown Disney. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I like the way it looked before. I didn't really have any problem with the way it looked before. It's sort of really kind of inviting, friendly on the inside with all the characters. Bryce is even asking where the character models are at, the TikTok croc, all that stuff. All of that is gone, replaced with all this fancy new brick stuff, all this fancy lighting. The skylight really does look beautiful. You can't really deny that. But yeah, as you can see, everything, it's really a completely different store. Mateo even says, very nice for anywhere but downtown Disney. Alex, what are your initial thoughts on the World of Disney's new redesign?
I actually like it. I don't know if that's what other people would agree with or not, but I mean, because the previous World of Disney had such a very specific look to it. But I actually like this one. It doesn't scream too loudly that it's Disney. You know, it's very the tone of the Disneyness in it is very subdued. It feels like you're it's designed to look like you're in like a market, and like you're in an indoor market and you're looking at stuff from all over the world or whatever. Of course, this is the Disney world that they're looking through, but nevertheless, I think it looks very great. It's very modern, very hipster.
Hipster.
And yeah, and the design, like I said, it doesn't scream too loudly that it's Disney, which some people might disagree with. Like, oh, it should be, if it's World of Disney, it should be, loud and should scream itself that it's Disney, and it should show Disney characters everywhere. Maybe, but I kind of like it. I can't help but wonder if they could have done a better job, though.
Yeah,
that's the only thing. Like, I wonder if the subdued flavor of it is really, fitting for a shop that's all about Disney. But maybe then again, the merchandise speaks for itself. I don't know. All I know is I think it looks great, and who knows? They, it could have looked worse. It could have looked maybe even better. I don't know. But
it could have been the Incredicoaster.
It could have been the Incredicoaster. But thankfully, it looks good. I think the outside, though, needs to change. I think that's, the outside still reminds me of the previous look. So, yeah. Yeah, I do agree with you. It does look really nice on the inside. I also agree that the outside should change as well. Like I said, this is sort of an older-ish video. I believe they do have this sign switched out for the new, I guess, sort of modern logo that they have that you can see right here. But yeah, it doesn't really scream Disney to me. Someone said in the chat, Bryce said it's more brick and metal, more like Universal and less like Disney. That's sort of true.
Although, like I said, I'm not really complaining. It does look really nice, but it just doesn't seem like it fits in downtown Disney, and especially since we know what it looked like before. I really did enjoy the way it looked. Although
Bryce also says that it looks a bit minimalistic, pretentious, and hipster.
Yeah.
Which I can kind of see what he means by that. You know, like it is minimalistic, which is the very hipster thing nowadays, is minimalistic.
Mm-hmm.
But pretentious, I don't know about pretentious. I mean, it's designed to be more like I was saying before, like a world market, you know, like where you like go into an indoor market and see a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't think it's pretentious, but yeah, it is minimalistic for sure.
Yeah, hipster would be the word that I'd use to describe this whole thing. Minimalistic too, I guess. But yeah, it does look nice. I'll give them that. But I agree with Alex. The outside should reflect what the inside looks like, and the outside just screams 90s. Don't you guys think? 90s Disney. Well, the inside is way in the future, 2018 designs. Yeah, very interesting. I'm sort of excited to see what it looks like in person. Yeah, it does look like it carries a whole new vibe, almost. But yeah, anyways, this sort of begs the question, is this sort of the design Disney is going for the whole downtown Disney as a whole, I should say, because the oh gosh, what is the name of the bowling place that just opened there? Splitsville has a very sort of sleek, retro, modernish design to it as well, and none of the other buildings around in downtown Disney really reflect the same thing, and it sort of makes me wonder if downtown Disney is lined up for a refurb, to sort of have it match the inside of downtown Disney, or the inside of World of Disney, or at least have it match Splitsville. Splitsville does look very, very beautiful as well, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what I really think, because I do think it looks nice, but then again, I do miss the old way it looked, and I don't know if I'd want this all through downtown Disney. I mean, it works for Disney Springs, don't get me wrong, because Disney Springs is sort of like an outdoor mall area with a whole bunch of stores, but downtown Disney is like way smaller than that. It doesn't really have the same vibes as that, in my opinion, if that's the right way to word it. Bryce says, if I wanted dark and dreary, I'd go to Universal. I go to Disney for life and love. Well said, Bryce. But
you know what I think is, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's okay.
I think, like, what's funny is, okay, you look at Splitsville, and Splitsville is designed to look like mid-century modern, which is what the 1950s look is like. And part of the 1950s look is the architectural style called Googie style, which is, you know, Googie. If you're looking, like, if you think about the main arching building in LAX is Googie style. Also, the Anaheim Convention Center building is Googie style. Even the Tomorrowland train station at Disneyland is Googie style. All that was done in the 1950s. And you know what's funny is that mid-century modern / Googie style is really coming back.
Yeah. And
I'm surprised kind of that they didn't go for that look in World of Disney, because that would have been more fitting, I think, and it would have been like really cool look. I mean, just imagine like the whole world of Pixar's Incredibles is mid-century modern. So you'd think like that would kind of look more Disney-like. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder like what it would look like if it was like that.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of the Googie architecture. I also just really love the word Googie. Very awesome word. And I do love the way everything looks when it's designed like that. Like Alex said, The Incredibles, the architecture in The Incredibles is amazing. Same with the new one. I actually saw the new one the other day. It was very good. But I guess the same could be said for the queue for the Incredicoaster. That's sort of, kind of, designed to sort of look like that retro 50s architecture with the Incredibles house and the queue, like the awnings, I guess. I do love the way that looks, and just the look in general. But yeah, Alex makes a good point. It sort of wonder why they didn't go for that. When Splitsville looks like that as well, but I guess they didn't want to have two shops that look the same. I don't know. I feel like it'd look nice if the entirety of Downtown Disney would be like that, but that's just my opinion. I guess it will depend on what the new hotel looks like. Maybe that's what they're waiting for, to sort of model the Downtown Disney architecture after the new hotel. But we'll have to wait a while for that. Sam says, I could have seen The Incredibles 2 today, but instead I watched Would You Be My Neighbor documentary. Oh, that's the one with about Mr. Rogers, right? Isn't there a movie coming out where Tom Hanks plays him as well? I do remember there were like 2 different movies about him in development. Man, I didn't know that was already out. I was looking forward to seeing that. Thank you for reminding me, Sam.
What is with everyone's sudden interest in Mr. Rogers? I've noticed that's kind of coming up. You know, like, he's been dead for a while, I think.
I think. I mean, honestly, I never watched Mr. Rogers as a kid. I'm sure I've seen like 1 or 2 shows when I was like a small kid, but I never watched him like regularly. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing when I saw the news that they were going to be making 2 Mr. Rogers movies / documentaries. I was kind of taken off or caught off guard, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really think people cared much for Mr. Rogers. I mean, sure, he was an awesome dude, but I mean, yeah, I will end up watching the documentary eventually. And I mean, who better to play Mr. Rogers in the movie than Tom Hanks, America's grandpa, Tom Hanks. Wonderful guy. I wish I could meet Tom Hanks. He seems like a really cool guy. Bryce says it's a nostalgia wave. I miss his optimistic outlook. People want optimism and hope. That's true. That sort of makes sense when you put it like that. Optimistic outlook. People do want optimism and hope in this day, in this time of the year. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, moving on to our, let's see, second topic. This isn't really news per se. I saw this tweet. Okay, first of all, I follow this website, Disney Tourist Blog. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. We used them as a huge source when we did the Disneyland vacation planning guide a couple months ago at this point, I think. So yeah, very good website. If you're not following them already on Twitter or just following the website, go ahead and check it out. The link to the article is in the description as we speak. Justin's asking why Matterhorn Mondays is on a Wednesday. We normally record it on a Saturday, but I'm not going to be here Saturday, so we're having to record it today. Sorry, Justin, but yeah, this isn't really news per se. This is just sort of a rumor, I guess you could call it. A rumor about the new upcoming Marvel Land to Disney's California Adventure. I'm just going to quote right off the bat from this article. Actually, I'm not going to quote from the article because I skimmed it. I didn't read it in its entirety. I saw the title and thought, oh my gosh, we need to talk about this on stream. So, as many of you know, It's Tough to Be a Bug closed on March 19th of this year, and the building will be used in that area of Bugs Land as well, will be used for the new Marvel Land expansion coming. I believe it's coming in 2020, 2021-ish. Not 100% sure on the dates, but this article that I'm looking at currently, and like I said, it's linked down in the description below if you guys want to read along or just follow what we're reading. This article claims to have insider information on what the attractions are going to be like, what the overall feel of the ride is going to be like, basically what the land is going to be like. And now I've never really considered Disney tourist blog. Why did Siri go off? That's weird. I didn't say hey Siri. Oh, I did now. You can stop now. There we go. I should probably put my phone somewhere far away. But I never have really used Disney tourist blog as sort of like Disney rumors, all that stuff. I don't really think they've ever really done anything like this, as far as I know. So, as far as I know, this is like a first for them, which sort of begs the question as to if this is authentic, if this is not authentic, but I'm going to quote from the article right away. Quote, "We've received credible word that the Disney California Adventure Land will be an Avengers campus set in real-world Southern California. It will be a place where Marvel superheroes can share their technology and methods of helping the world with the public. This superhero campus will feature 2 attractions, parentheses, 1 in Phase 1, 2 merchandise shops, again parentheses, 1 in Phase 1, and a microbrewery / counter service restaurant, all connected by a small quad space and various avenues." Unquote. So they're sort of saying that the new Marvel Land will be an Avengers campus set in real-world Southern California. So if this ends up being true, then this will give the land its reason as to why it's in California Adventure. But I guess you could really do that with anything. You could just, like Pixar Pier. Oh, it's a pier about Pixar in California, so it belongs in California Adventure. It's kind of lazy, I guess, but I mean, I'm not complaining. It's Marvel. I'm going to quote again. Quote, "The Phase 1 attraction will be a family-friendly, interactive 3D ride that will be an expansion of the existing It's Tough to Be a Bug theater. A large portion of the additional attraction space will be queue, which will abut. I've never heard that word be used before. Which will abut the existing A Bug's Land restrooms to remain and be updated. In addition to this attraction, there will be a number of heroic encounter, meet and greets, and entertainment offerings throughout the land, primarily in the central quad of the campus. Entertainment will apparently play a large role on the campus, even as one of the gift shops has a 2-level performance space." Interesting. Now this is kind of weird, because there were patents filed, I believe sometime last year, of sort of like a swinging attraction to sort of represent what it's like to be swinging, and people theorized that it could either be for one of 2 Disney characters. It could be for Tarzan, or it could be for Spider-Man. Now, the most likely candidate for that to be is for Spider-Man, of course. Because who wants a Tarzan ride in Disney in California Adventure? But yeah, he goes on to say that the first phase ride opening, he wouldn't be surprised if it would be similar to the Ant-Man shooter game attraction being built at Hong Kong Disneyland. I didn't even realize. I guess the Ant-Man ride in Hong Kong is sort of like a Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin type of thing, where you have like laser guns, you shoot, I guess, at like different robot bugs. That's what it sounds to me like. That's not really something I think of when I hear Marvel Land. I mean, sure, it'll be different because it's Marvel, but yeah, it's sort of a letdown. And then they go on to say that there will be a microbrewery in Marvel Land, so that's very interesting in itself, because microbreweries are not... Okay, I'm going to admit, I don't know what a microbrewery is. I'm assuming it's where they serve alcohol, like beer, wine, all that stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I'm probably wrong. But if what I'm thinking is correct, Alex, please help me. Do you know what a microbrewery is?
Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a small brewery.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's a small place that makes their own beer.
Interesting. So I guess California Adventure has sort of already had its alcohol serving places, but this is really kind of weird to have a microbrewery in a Marvel land where it's sort of like family-friendly Marvel land with, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, all the Avengers. That wouldn't be the first thing that I'd think to put into a Marvel land, but I guess it's sort of what the people want. Or I believe they're going to have a microbrewery as well in Toy Story Land, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% sure on that. I did see something about that, but
yeah, having a microbrewery in this Avengers land, I certainly hope they have a superhero that can protect against inebriation.
Yeah, that would be awesome to see like Spider-Man chasing down all the drunk people and putting them like in a jail cell or something. That would be really funny. But he does say that the microbrewery will double as a counter-service restaurant and will act as a buffer between the Guardians of the Galaxy mission breakout and the rest of the campus, because that's sort of the other thing with this whole rumor. Guardians of the Galaxy mission breakout is designed to look like the Collector's sort of warehouse, or I guess fortress. His fortress warehouse would be better words to say. Like, I'm guessing it's sort of set on another planet, maybe, because when we go into the ride, he talks about how he's going to show us all of his collection, all of the things he's collected over the years, and it's sort of like, how does that fit into a campus? When he says the word campus, I'm assuming like a college campus, with like a lot of benches and grass and like really friendly atmosphere where you could like talk to people, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be really interesting if this turns out to be true, and how they'll incorporate Mission Breakout into the rest of the campus, because from what I understand, it's gonna be a real sore thumb. It'll stand out like a sore thumb. I mean, it already does stand out like a sore thumb. You can see the darn thing from Disneyland, but yeah, when it comes to this rumor, I'm not really sure if it's true. Then again, I don't know how credible Disney Tourist Blog is when it comes to rumors and stuff like that. But I'm gonna quote again. Quote, "Then there's the campus and setting itself. Since rumors of Marvel Land began surfacing a couple years ago, many fans question how the land would fit with California Adventure. Well, it would seem that we have our answer with this rumor of a Southern California superhero campus, which will not be self-aware as to its in-park location, as Marvel cannot be used in the land's name. So it would probably just end up being called Superhero Campus. I mean, it sounds like a neat idea. Like, sort of, I'm guessing like a college campus, sort of, with like superheroes that are like training, or like just getting used to their powers or something. I did mention when we first started talking about this Marvel land coming to California Adventure, I'm a huge fan of the Marvel movies. So that automatically makes me a huge fan of a Marvel land in the Disney parks. I'm just glad it's not in Disneyland.
Me too.
Bryce says Avengers Training Campus. That'd be a better name than Superhero Campus. Maybe it'll be modeled after the new Avengers facility from the new movies. But yeah, this is a very interesting rumor. Like I said, I wanted to talk about this last week, but we already had different topics we wanted to talk about, and I wanted to sort of see if anyone started really talking about this. I haven't seen anybody else talk about this article or this rumor in general on any of on like YouTube or like other articles. This could be an elaborate prank being played on Matterhorn Mondays, and I wouldn't even know it. Just because I haven't seen anybody else talk about this. I do think this would be a neat idea to do. I guess it would sort of blend into California Adventure, kind of. It'd be better than doing the entire land like Mission Breakout, having those ugly pipes and green and red lights everywhere. Man, that building is really bad. But anyways, Alex, what are your thoughts on this Marvel Land rumor from the Disney Tourist blog website?
It sounds like, I mean, I'm not really much of a superhero fan. I mean, my favorite superheroes aren't even really superheroes. I mean, I like the Ninja Turtles, and they don't really fit in with any of this stuff. Well, okay. So speaking as just a person who just wanders into this land, I think it would be kind of cool. And I think that it for the most part, it sounds like a fun idea. I mean, I'm not a big fan of 3D rides because they're usually just a bunch of projections on a wall, and that's like what makes up most of the ride. So I don't know. I wish they could find a way to do something better than that. But what it really sounds to me like to me. I don't know what it is. What it really sounds like to me is it sounds like something Universal would do.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're going to be stepping away from a Disney park and suddenly into a Universal park. Which is fine if you like Universal, but I mean, like, if you're like me and you like Disney, it just doesn't seem right to have like a Marvel land. It just doesn't. Anyway, so I mean, it's fine if you're a fan of that, and I can see how you would like it and stuff like that. But personally, I'm gonna stay at Disneyland.
That's true. Yeah, I really don't know what to think, just because I don't know how credible this article is, how credible the sources they're talking about. It does sound like a neat idea, like I said. It would be a very interesting way to take a Marvel Land in California Adventure. But the really one thing that sort of is like a red flag for this article is how Mission Breakout is still going to stick out like a sore thumb. It won't blend into the land at all, unless, like I said, they make the whole land like Mission Breakout. But yeah, the entire storyline, like I said, of Mission Breakout is that you're on another planet, off in outer space somewhere, and it just will not fit in a quote Marvel superhero campus. But then again, I was also really confused as to where they were going to take Marvel Land once Mission Breakout opened, because it's like, if you theme it to that, you're going to have to theme it to an alien outer space world to have Mission Breakout fit in with the rest of the Marvel Land around it. So yeah, that's really the only sort of, like I said, red flag with this article. It would, like I said, it would be nice to see this sort of approach on the Marvel Land, I guess, but I'm sure Disney has something different in the works. Bryce said Mission Breakout is still going to look like 3D pipes puked on an old Mac. Well said.
You know, this whole Marvel thing in a Disney theme park is really more about money than it is about the guests, in my opinion. I mean, like, you know, Disney used to show a kind of love and care towards their parks. Like, they really were selective of what to put in their theme parks because they wanted the parks to make sense. So there was a time when, you know, they just wouldn't put something in, no matter how popular the movie was. They wouldn't put it in the park because it didn't make sense. You know, and I'm talking about every Disney park in America. I'm not just talking about Disneyland. And now it's mostly about the money. It's mostly about, like, hey, how can we capitalize on Marvel? And so they're just like, well, we're going to throw it in California Adventure, whether or not it makes sense. And they did that with Mission Breakout. Mission Breakout was all about capitalizing on the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, and it had nothing to do with how it made sense in the park. Like you said in the last podcast, they even have this scene on the Mission Breakout ride where they open the doors and you see Disneyland from the Marvel ride, and then the raccoon says, oh, incongruent theming or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Thematically
you know,
inconsistent.
and yeah, that's thematically inconsistent. Yeah. And it's because they know it's true.
Yeah.
And it's like it just doesn't make sense. So it's just like, as much as people will love this Avengers thing, it really doesn't belong in California Adventure. It doesn't belong in Disneyland. They should have just waited to make a third gate, I think, that, you know, was its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like people should be prepared to enter a Disney park that doesn't feel Disney.
Yeah.
But when they enter California Adventure, they're slapped with Walt Disney's history right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
When they enter California Adventure.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden it goes from the history of Walt Disney to Avengers? It just doesn't make sense. You know, so it's just like, you know, it's all about the money, and it's not really about what makes sense and what's right or what's wrong.
Mm.
You know?
I'm convinced that the current Bob Iger is some kind of either clone or a lizard person, because why go, like, we've said this 1,000 times, everybody has said this 1,000 times, why go through the $2 billion to redo, to create Buena Vista Street, to make Cars Land, to fix all of the other lands, Grizzly Peak, Grizzly Airfield, all that stuff? Why spend $2 billion just to ruin it with Mission Breakout and Pixar Pier? So yeah, I'm convinced that the current Bob Iger is either kidnapped, he's held in a trunk somewhere, or in a or in like a, I don't know, in like a jail cell, some evil person's holding him hostage while the replacement destroys California Adventure. That's really the most accurate scenario that I can think of as to why all this is happening. And if I turn out to be true, then you guys can come back to this episode and say that I called it. Just kidding. But that would be crazy if that actually happened. I'm just reading the comments on this article. A lot of people seem to be for it. A lot of people seem to be not for it, to think it's not very credible. Talking about why they can't use the word Marvel in the California parks. But yeah, I'm sure when it comes to Marvel Land, I mean, with this concept art, it's left ambiguous on purpose, just because you don't know what the heck is gonna happen here. I mean, the way I took it is it's sort of like a New York sort of style land, because you can see the Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, I think that's how you pronounce it, and you can see the Avengers Tower, I guess, Avengers facility here, and of course Mission Breakout here in the background. Yeah, it's really, you can't really infer anything from this picture, just that it'll have Mission Breakout, it'll have Black Panther, it'll have Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, but yeah, it could really go either way. But yeah, anyways, Alex, any closing thoughts on the Marvel Land rumor?
I think I probably said it all, honestly. I would just be, you know, reiterating the same thing, but yeah.
And I did want to bring up, when in the Mission Breakout, when Rocket says that Disneyland is thematically inconsistent, and even, like I said last week as well, in the Incredicoaster, when Violet says that, like, their name is getting slapped on an old coaster or something like that, that sort of meta humor, I get what they're trying to go for, like poking fun at, oh hey, Disneyland has Star Wars Land, and it's not really gonna match anything else in Disneyland, so Rocket's sort of making fun of that. Same with Violet. Oh, why is there a mid-century roller coaster named after the Incredibles on a boardwalk themed around Pixar? She's sort of poking fun at that. I get that they're trying to poke fun at that, sort of like that meta humor, but it doesn't really work when the things that you're making fun of are just bad. and that, like, it shows that they know it's bad. It shows that they know it's not as good as it can be. It shows that they know it's just slapped together cash grab stuff, like Alex said. I mean, sure, it's a funny line. It'll get a chuckle out of the people who hear it. But yeah, it's just not. I mean, I think it's funny. The lines are funny, but it's just not. I just don't like it, is what I'm trying to say. That's all I have to say on that. Bryce said, "Can't we just snap our fingers and make it go away?" I wish. Moving on to actually, that was our last topic of the day. Moving on to, I still don't know if you guys want this to be a weekly thing. It can be if you guys want to. Ghost stories with Alex and Matt. Many of you guys have sent in ghost stories to me in the comments of the last podcast or on Discord. So Alex, of course, has another story he'd like to tell us. Alex, I believe you had one Disney and one non-Disney. Last week we voted for Disney, so all you 4 people watching, do you want Alex's Disney story or his non-Disney story? Say in the chat, and Alex will tell whatever. I'm sure they're going to pick the Disney story, Alex, so you might as well just ready up with that one.
Yeah, they're probably all going to vote Disney story. Yeah, so I've got 2 stories for you guys. They're both, you know, spooky, scary stories kind of. And I want to know which one you guys would like to hear, the Disney one or the non-Disney one. So,
well, right off the bat, I vote for non-Disney. Mateo votes for non-Disney as well. Oh my gosh, throwing a wrench in everything. So that's 2 for non-Disney. I think we have like 2 more people who need to type, but that's okay. They're probably not gonna type. Okay, Bryce said last week we heard the Disney story. So it looks like the consensus for this week is non-Disney story.
Should we just go with that then? Oh wait, someone threw out Disney. That's
sorry, barbecue.
Head.
You're outvoted
or
3-1. Mr. Q, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Q says Disney.
Well, Mr. Q has been outvoted 3-1. Oh, Sam voted Disney
Sam
too.
McGriff.
Oh my gosh. Twist. Oh, Stacy voted non-Disney, so that's 3-2, I think? 4-2. Something like that. Let's see. Which one would you prefer to tell, Alex?
Oh gosh, they're both so good. They're short too, so maybe I could tell both of them.
Hey, that'd be a good compromise.
I'll start with the non-Disney story.
All right.
And it's rather short, but it's pretty scary. So, okay, so, so when I was a teenager, I used to hang out with my friend Brittany, and her aunt and uncle would take us. I know we have more votes than viewers.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And okay, so so we used to go traveling a lot, and this one time, her aunt and uncle decided to take us to Laughlin, Nevada, and so we stayed at this hotel called the called the Colorado Bell. No, I want to say the Colorado Bell. Okay, well, anyway, if anyone knows anything about Laughlin, it's the only hotel that has a steamboat. It's basically a one giant steamboat. It's fake, but it's designed to look like a giant steamboat. So if anyone knows what the name of that hotel is, I stayed there. Okay, so we stayed at this hotel, and we got 2 rooms, one for the aunt and uncle and one for me and my friend Brittany. And I remember it was nighttime, and me and Brittany were in our room, and I decided to take a shower. So I took a shower, and when I got out of the shower, I opened the door, and I saw this like misty white figure, like short, like a little girl. It looked like a little girl. And it ran past my door, and then ran out to the front door of the room. And I just stood there for a second, trying to like think, like, what did I just see? You know, like, I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see anything because that looked really weird, but maybe I just imagined. But even though I didn't say anything, I heard my friend all the way from her bed say, "Holy crap." And I go, "What? What's wrong?" And she says to me, she's like, "I swore just right now, I just saw this like little girl run past." And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, it ran from the window of the room, like it was all the way on the far side of the room. From the window," she said, "all the way to the door." You know? And she was like, "Did you see it? Because you just opened the door when that happened." And I was like, I didn't want to say anything, but I saw it. I saw this misty figure run past the door and then run out the front door of the room. And so we were like, "Oh my gosh, that was so weird." And we were talking for a while about how creepy that was, and you know, and so I don't know, we were talking for a short while, and then there was a knock on our door. And we were like, "Oh, who's this? You know, what's going on?" And we opened the door, and it's her uncle, and he was like, "Wow, you guys wouldn't believe what just happened." And we're like, "What? What happened?" And he said, "Well, it was really strange." He said, "My wife just thought she saw this like little girl run into the room." And he was like, "We were like trying to sleep, so the lights were off and whatever, but we saw this white figure run into our room." And he said, "And then I started feeling like this choking sensation."
Oh yeah.
And he said, like, I felt like I was like choking and like I couldn't breathe. And he said, so I stood up and it went away. And he says, and that's when my wife told me about this figure that ran from our front door to our window. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I told him, like, "Sam, you won't even believe this." I said, "Brittany and I just saw this figure run from the window to our front door, and it must have crossed through the hallway to your room." You know? And so he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." So the next day we were just talking about it, like, "Oh my gosh, we just saw this thing." And so we thought it was like so weird because all four of us experienced this thing, you know, and it was funny because the next morning after what happened, I found out that the hotel was on the tour, the haunted tour of the city, because the hotel is haunted. So I was like, I know. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so weird." And so anyway, yeah, that was the story. It's really short, but it was really just, I'd never seen anything like it, you know, at the time. This was before I worked at Disney, so I hadn't had too much experience with ghosts. So yeah, that was weird.
Interesting. Man, Alex has the best ghost stories ever. Thank you for sharing that one, Alex.
It's my pleasure.
Love spooking all the kiddos out there listening to us. Now, what about the Disney story?
Okay, so this one's also rather short too. So this was when I was working at Disney, and I had just gotten off work. I think at that time I was working at the what's it called? Hungry Bear restaurant. So I used to take a shortcut through the park that left me out towards the what they called Harbor Point, which is just beyond the Disneyland Railroad from the Tomorrowland side. And that, you know, and from there I would take my shuttle to my car. So anyway, so when I would go through the park, I would cross over the hub, and then right on the back side of the Buzz Lightyear ride is a door that leads to an underground what do you call it? A tunnel, basically. Now, this tunnel was built in 1967 for the new Tomorrowland, and this tunnel crosses along the backside of the Buzz Lightyear ride, then goes underneath the Tomorrowland Terrace, and the tunnel meets up with the underground loading area for the Tomorrowland Terrace's stage. So the stage that goes from up and down, you know, it goes from underground to suddenly being above ground, and then Darth Vader pops out. Well, Darth Vader gets on the stage from underground from this same tunnel. And anyway, the tunnel continues diagonally across Tomorrowland, past the Tomorrowland stage, and then underneath the Carousel Theater, which everyone knows today as Star Wars Launch Bay. It also used to be known as the Innovations Building. And then it exits out the backside of the Innovations Building. You have to go up a set of stairs, and then you find yourself on the backside of the Innovations Building. So I used to take this tunnel as a shortcut to get through the park, also because the tunnel is like no one uses it. So I was like, this would be really fun. So I go into the door from the backside of Buzz Lightyear, and then I go underground, and then there's this long tunnel, and the tunnel basically, to me it resembles the utilidors of Walt Disney World. I mean, there's pipes on the left side of the tunnel that follow the entire length of the tunnel. I think one pipe is for water, fresh water. The other pipes are for power and stuff like that. And I'm walking down this tunnel, and I think I get about halfway, and I hear footsteps. And I look around, and there's no one there. And I mean, there's not very many doors or passageways. It's mainly just a tunnel without any doors. And so there's no one walking around. I don't see anyone behind me or in front of me. No one passed through the doors, or else I would have heard a door open or shut or something. And so I thought, that was weird, whatever. So I just keep walking, and then I keep hearing like footsteps behind me, like someone's kind of trudging their feet. And I turn back around, and I don't see anybody. And so I felt like this weird feeling like I was being watched, you know, like, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get out of here, you know. And it's kind of a dark tunnel too. There's not very many lights, so it was getting kind of creepy for me. And I started walking, and then I felt this feeling like on my right arm, right where my elbow is, as if someone was about to grab my arm. Kind of like if you've ever been almost touched by someone, you can almost feel them touching you before they actually touch you. Yeah. That's what it felt like. And I kind of recoiled away from it, because I was like, oh my God, that felt really weird. and so I just started walking faster, and then I heard almost in my ear like a voice, and it said, "Are you lost?" Oh. And I looked around to see if someone had said that to me, but there's nobody there. Oh. And I was so freaked out. And at this point, I was already past the halfway point. I think I was over by where the Tomorrowland stage was underground. So I just started walking faster, and I just went out the backside, and I went up the stairs. And the whole time I felt like I was being followed. Just that weird feeling like something's right behind your back. And so I went up the stairs, and I exited the building, and then that feeling went away. I just felt so much better just being out of there. And I remember telling this to a friend at work, and I think that they said something like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about that tunnel. Some people say it's haunted or whatever." I'm like, I believe it now, you know. Tunnel's been there since 1967. What are the odds that it's not haunted, you know? Yeah. So that was a weird time, a really weird feeling. I don't think I ever used that tunnel again, as a matter of fact.
I mean, I wouldn't either if I were you.
No.
Well, thank you, Alex, for sharing your stories. Once again, I'm sure you have many more. But yeah, thank you for sharing those stories, Alex. I love gosh, I said this last week, I just love spooky stories. Just because nothing like this has happened to me yet. Right as I said that, I was looking at myself in the webcam and I thought I saw my door open, but it was just my head. So nothing to be alarmed of. But thank you, Alex, and I'm going to go ahead and read Barbecue Story, BBQ, or Mr. Q. Yeah. He sent me 3 stories last week. So I'm going to read story, the third one he sent me. Apparently this one is verified. So I'm not that good at reading stories like this. I don't think I have the right voice for it, but that's okay. I'm sure you guys will be creeped out anyways. So thank you, Barbecue, for sending in this story. I'm going to go ahead and read it right now. I was about 4 or 5 years old and had recently moved. I was looking for someone to play with and went into the old barn. I opened the small door. It's about the same size as a regular screen door, but made of wood. It just seems small compared to the actual barn door it's built into. So I opened the small door, and there was a black, shadowy thing there in the barn, not far from the door. It was kind of the black cloud, but more well-defined. The top of it was about 8 or 9 feet high, and I haven't read this before. This is the first time I'm reading any of these. The bottom was about 3 feet off the ground, and it was 3 or 4 feet wide near the middle. It was also moving back and forth a little, and slightly up and down. I watched it for maybe 4 seconds, maybe a little longer. I wasn't sure what I was looking at, so I stared at it for a few. Then I got a little scared because it seemed to be getting more active, or bouncy, or whatever you want to call that motion. So I closed the door and started walking away since the kids I was looking for weren't in there anyway. Found a few down by the creek. I asked them about the thing in the barn. They were pretty relaxed about it. They said, "Yeah, you saw a ghost. It won't hurt you. It's just there sometimes." And they told me the story of how the barn came to have a ghost there. A man had been stomped to death by his horse in one of the stalls in the barn about 150 years ago. Years later, I decided to search the name of the barn, and OMG, it was in a book about haunted places in Pennsylvania. When I was told about the guy being killed by his horse, I could see then the notion that I had seen very much like a horse. I butchered that sentence. I could see then that the motion I had seen was very much like a horse wanting to go forward and not being allowed by the rider. The barn was recently knocked down, and there's a treehouse there now. I never read that before. Thank you, Barbecue. That is a very creepy story. Oh my gosh, I would poop my pants if I saw anything like that in my house, or if I was in an old creepy barn. Yeah, I would definitely poop my pants. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you, Barbecue. Thank you, Alex, again, for sharing your spooky ghost stories. Again, I love this kind of stuff, so thank you for sharing all this. Barbecue has 2 more other stories, and there's a whole bunch more in the comments of last week's podcast that I need to get to. So as long as you guys keep commenting scary stories that happen to you or a friend or a family member, we'll keep doing this segment every week. So thank you to everyone who has sent in spooky stories and that I haven't gotten to yet. Next week we'll read a couple more. So yeah, again, big thank you to everyone for sharing all their scary stories. Yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and move on to Words with Walt, one of our favorite segments of the show. It's where we discuss a quote by Walt Disney. Each week, Alex and I trade off picking the quote. This week, it was Alex's turn to pick the quote, and I'm going to read it right now. "I only hope that we never lose sight of one..." Oh, that is not the right quote. That's awkward. Let me get the right quote. I was wondering. I
totally thought you changed it on me, and I was going to punch you.
Let me get the correct quote really quick. Gosh, I was reading it and I was like, wait a minute, we did this one last week. There we go. Now there's the real quote. The quote is, if you're Did I mistype this? I think I did. No, I did not mistype this. Okay. The quote is, "You're dead if you aim only for kids. Adults are only kids grown up anyway." Of course, Mr. Walt Disney said that. Alex, why did you decide on this quote for this week?
Because I hear a lot of people that, like, outside of our Disney fandom, when I talk to people that I meet or whatever, and I tell them, oh yeah, I'm a Disney historian or whatever, a lot of them say, oh, I don't really go to Disneyland, or I haven't been to Disneyland, and it's really mainly for kids, right?
Yeah.
And oh, that bothers me. That really, really bothers me. Because Disneyland was never, ever meant only for kids.
Mm-hmm.
The whole purpose behind Disneyland was so that way it was for families, which wasn't, I mean, I'm not just talking about families that are a whole unit of people together that live with each other. I mean, age-wise, people that could be in a family. So anything from kids to teenagers to adults to seniors. It was meant for all ages. And so the funny thing is that Walt Disney knew that there's an important thing to having Disneyland, and even his movies are meant for all ages. And this quote, which Walt said, "You're dead if you aim only for kids, because adults are only kids grown up anyway," is totally true. You know, all us adults, we are kids at heart, and we forget this. But when we go to places like Disneyland, or we watch a Disney movie, we kind of forget, our adult lives for just a moment and feel like a kid again. And Walt was totally right in this sense. And so, the interesting thing about Disneyland is that none of the rides in Disneyland originally were segregated when it came to different ages or heights. There were no height requirements originally on all the rides. The first ride that came to Disneyland that eventually got a height requirement was the Matterhorn. But when the Matterhorn opened, Walt Disney originally was against the Matterhorn. He at first said, I don't want it to be a roller coaster, because roller coasters are for adults or people over a certain height, And so he told the park manager, Dick Nunes, and he told his Imagineering team that he would be fine with it being a roller coaster if they could find a way to make it so everybody could ride. And so what they decided on was they made it so you had to sit tandem. So an adult would sit down and then the kid would sit between their lap. That way the adults could hold on to the kids and then kids could ride it. So that was the whole point of the Matterhorn. Then eventually, over time, they added a height requirement to it. But originally the Matterhorn was for all ages. And over time, Disney Company, not Walt Disney, the Disney Company started adding rides that were aimed towards adults or people over a certain height. And that was after Walt Disney died. But the entire time that Walt was alive, every ride in Disneyland was for all ages. Everybody could ride. So I thought that was really interesting that Walt Disney, all the way up until he died, just made sure that everything is for everybody, and even then, not to aim just for kids. The park isn't just for kids. It's meant for the adults too. And so anyway, I love this quote, and I love everything it means. This is one of my favorite quotes.
Well, this is now also one of my favorite quotes, because I agree with 100% with what you said. I do have a lot of friends, when I say, oh hey, I have a Disney YouTube channel, and they watch my videos and they're like, why Disney? Why do you make Disney videos? And I tell them, oh, I just really love Disney, the movies, Disneyland, the parks, all that stuff. And they're always, like you said, they're always so, I don't want to, not like against, but they always say, oh, Disney's for kids, though. You're literally 20 years old. You shouldn't be focused on or obsessed with all. I guess obsessed wouldn't be. Well, I guess obsessed would be the right word. You shouldn't be obsessed with all this kind of stuff. You should be. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I love this quote so much because adults really are kids just grown up. And this sort of, I mean, when I watch Disney movies with my family, when I go to the parks with my family, all of us, my sister and I and my parents, always have a good time because like Alex said, like the quote says, Disneyland isn't just for kids. I mean, sure, Toontown is mainly attracting smaller kids, but you know, like the real part of Disneyland. I don't count Toontown as like Disneyland. Oh gosh, that was so mean to Toontown. But the rest of Disneyland, at least, excluding Galaxy's Edge, is really meant for the whole family. I mean, I thought it was really cool when the Matterhorn opened and you could be able to have like your 5-year-old or whatever like ride on your lap on the roller coaster. Like that's kind of weird, but it's also kind of cool because Walt Disney didn't want it to be just for kids. Like Alex said, he wanted it to be for the whole family. And I mean, sure, I guess that's not very safe, but I mean, come on, a 5-year-old riding a roller coaster, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about this quote. I really do love this quote. I really do. I'm sure I've heard it before, but this is like the first time I've actually had an in-depth discussion about it. But thank you, Alex, for picking this week's quote. Next week, I will be picking the quote. And yeah, that's
Did I basically introduce you to this quote?
I think so. Like I said, I'm sure I've like read it before on like on Google, or I've read it in like books or something before, but I never really took a second thought to it until now. So thank you, Alex, for introducing me to this amazing Disney quote.
Yay!
And now that sort of wraps up this week's episode. I do want to play a short clip from excuse me, from I never know how to say this, from this week's Historyland, but when this video comes out on a Monday, oh my gosh, there's a person behind me. Oh my gosh, he's floating, he doesn't have legs. It's a ghost. Bryce, thank you, Bryce. Yeah, I never know how to say this. Last week's episode of Historyland. Well, I guess if you're watching this on Monday or past Monday, it won't really be much of a sneak peek. But for you guys who are here today, for all you amazing people who took time out of your day on a Wednesday of all days, because we normally have these streams on a Saturday. And if you're listening to this and don't know what the chat is all about, who we're talking to in the chat, Alex and I do weekly streams on YouTube of the recording of Matterhorn Mondays. That is what this is. It's the stream. We talk about all the topics. We interact with everyone in chat. I feel like it's a better way to do podcasts other than Alex and I just sitting talking to only each other. While here we have input from all you lovely viewers who decide to tune in. And if you haven't tuned in to one of our streams before, definitely come tune in. It's a really great time. Everyone here always has a great time. I have a great time. I'm sure Alex has a great time as well. But yeah, sort of a little plug for everyone. And these streams are on my second channel, always linked in the description. But yeah, to all you amazing people who decided to tune in to today's stream, I am gonna treat you guys back. I guess you could call it a treat. I'm gonna play you guys a short clip from, or I guess the beginning clips, or segment opening sequence of this week's Historyland, and this will also be the unofficial debut of the new Historyland intro. I'm very, very proud of this intro, if you couldn't tell. I've spent many months working to perfect my new intro for Historyland. Like a lot of you guys know, I'm sure a lot of people who tune into my channel for like the first time or have been here for, oh, I just smacked that, sorry about that, or people who have only been here for a couple weeks, they always ask, why are there commercials in your Historyland video? You know, like retro Disneyland, Disney, Walt Disney World commercials in the in the Historyland videos, and I always tell them that Historyland, from the very beginning, when I first created this channel, Historyland was supposed to be modeled after the vintage Disney Channel TV shows. Of course, it always draw inspiration from that. That was really its main inspiration. Of course, in my older videos, I had the little bumpers in between the commercials, you know, where it says like, coming up next, more Historyland, and then after that it'd show like my logo with like the theme song, the Disney Channel theme song. That's really what that was. That's really what Historyland is really supposed to be. That's really what it's supposed to be. I'm fumbling over my words right now because I'm trying to explain to everybody, because I really do enjoy making these Historyland videos. I mean, a lot of you who are in this same sort of industry, I guess, video editing, graphic design, all that kind of stuff. I know editing videos, looking for clips to use on YouTube, it can get really, really tiring. And at the end of the day, when you go to sleep at night, you haven't finished the video you're working on, you think, oh my gosh, that was the worst time ever. I hate looking on YouTube for clips to use. I hate trying to cut out all the awkward coughs and breaths from my my voiceover that I use, because I do go in, edit out all of the breaths I take in, like when I'm talking in a sentence and I breathe in, I edit all that out. It just sort of, I feel like it distracts from the main content. But yeah, what my writer and I, and for those of you guys that don't know, my current writer is Jeremy. He's been in the stream a couple times. He's written a couple episodes in the past. He did the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and he also did the It's a Small World, which up until that point, It's a Small World episode was one of my favorite episodes that I've done so far on my channel. He really is an amazing writer and amazing at incorporating stories as well as telling the history of the attraction we're doing. So big shout out to him. Him and I have been working very hard the past couple months to sort of form what the ideal Historyland, for us at least, would be. And I really hope that you guys feel the same way that we do, because we put a lot of work into this. We really do love doing this stuff for you. I'm sure there's more about what I want to say, but yeah, sort of this next episode of Historyland is the start of Historyland Volume 3. Now, I know a lot of you have already said, Historyland Volume 2 was really short. It was only 3 or 4 episodes. That's true. We decided to chop it up, Volume 2, end it with last week's episode, Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, and start the new volume with Pirates of the Caribbean, because with It's a Small World, with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, we've really sort of started to change the way we present information to you guys. It's really sort of taking its own form from just, you know, like a regular Disney history YouTube video, into really something completely different. And I know a lot of you guys are excited. I know I'm excited to see everything that you guys have to say about it. So without further ado, if I can get this right, this is that's not what I want to see. Here we go. Now, without further ado, let me make sure the volume is not muted, and I'm sorry if it skips through everything, or if it like lags a bit. It's just my computer's not the best, and I'm sure it will skip. Hopefully it doesn't a lot. If it does skip, I do have a pre-rendered clip that I have to show you guys. But anyways, without further ado, here is the opening to episode 28 of Historyland.
never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
From the beginning of his career to the very end, Walt Disney was never satisfied. He was always restless and constantly on the search for ways to challenge himself and his team of artists. Above all, Walt was a storyteller, and this lifelong search was a quest to push the boundaries of storytelling beyond its imaginable limits. From cartoons to the World's Fair, Walt had already proved to the public that ideas and stories were always flowing from the ever-giving well of imagination. And although he would be approaching the end of his life in the mid-1960s, Walt still exuded a wealth of new and ambitious ideas that would define and redefine how stories could be told. One of these many ideas that has not only left a permanent mark on theme park history, but has excited, haunted, and intrigued our culture as a whole. It has become one of our great American myths, and today, we tell that story.
Matterhorn Matt presents Historyland.
And that's that. Thank you, everybody, for watching that. I hope you all enjoyed watching that. Definitely type in chat what you guys think, because we always take into consideration what you guys want, what you guys want to see, and yeah, I'm really proud of what Historyland has become. I'm sure. Why is Siri going off? Hey Siri, when has become? That's not. I didn't ask Siri that. But yeah, I'm sure if you go back and look at my older videos, my very first Historyland episode on the People Mover, and compare it to what is going to be coming out this week, you will. It's really night and day. I'm really proud of what my team has done to help build Historyland into what it is currently, and we're really still building out of trying to figure out exactly what we want to do with the series. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you couldn't tell, the intro was modeled after the Wonderful World of Disney intro. Really proud of the way that turned out. I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I'll leave it at that. Hopefully you all enjoy this week's episode, or last week's episode for those of you listening after Monday when this episode drops. But anyways, Alex, any closing thoughts on any of the topics we talked about today?
Nope. We had a good episode today, though. This one's really good.
Yeah, well, I said in the opening. Yeah, I was gonna say, I said in the opening, I thought this would be like a 40-minute episode. It's pushing an hour and a half. Yeah, so thank you all for coming out today. Thank you all for listening to us talk. Thank you all for watching, all that good stuff. And I do have a poll down in the description. The poll is your thoughts on the new, or I guess the rumored Marvel expansion that's going to be happening to California Adventure. Be sure to go down in the description, vote on that. Yeah, looking forward to see your votes on that. Looking forward to hear your thoughts on the new World of Disney changes, on the new on the Disney Fox deal. Gosh, we talked about so much. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. This really was a great episode. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Alex, for being here. I think that's going to wrap it up. We hope you all enjoyed, and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. All right. Gosh, I said at the beginning, it'd be short, but yeah, this was a really, really great episode. Oh my gosh. 2 hours, Mateo says. Has it been 2 hours?
No, it's been